with its roots in both Miami, USA, and the UK. With a passion of re-imaging classic sounds, Black Molly draws inspiration from iconic bands such as Black Sabbath, Alice in Chains, and Faith No More, crafting a fresh contemporary take on the heavy rock scene. The band's unique sound is characterized by powerful vocals, intricate guitar riffs, and driving rhythm section, all of which come together to create a high-energy experience for listeners. Daniel's songwriting reflects a blend of personal experiences and universal themes, resonating with fans of both traditional and modern rock. As Black Molly records original material, they are committed to pushing the boundaries of heavy music while honoring the influences that shape their sound. With their transatlantic collaboration, the band is poised to make a significant impact on the rock and metal scene, appealing to a diverse audience and inviting fans to join them on the musical journey. Keep an eye out for their upcoming releases as Black Molly aims to carve out their own niche in the rich landscape of heavy rock. Daniel Wills, are you there, sir?
What is going on, my friend, Steve?
Yes, Daniel, thank you so very much. And talk about this song. First of all, I got to tell you, listening to it, it's right out of the book of Black Sabbath. I mean, great job, man.
So it's a story of a guy who is, going around the world drinking as much as he can, trying to empty bottles of spirits, trying to find a genie in a bottle. It's just, a fun story about a guy basically chasing his dreams. And, the song came about from back in 2018. I was backstage at a Foreigner reunion show with my father, Rick, and Al Greenwood, and we were talking. And Al was asking me what I was up to at the time, and I told him about this Black Molly project that I had been recording music for. And he basically told me to take a look at his website and listen to some of the stuff he had done to see if there was anything on there that I thought would work and, maybe I could work on with him. And this song he had, I think it was called Passenger or something like that. I can't remember the exact name of the piece he had done. But he had kind of compiled this real soundtrack kind of sounding piece that was the backing track to Dream of Jeannie. And I came up with this guitar part, that guitar riff, and I sent it to him with this rough vocal. And he was absolutely blown away. I was like, I didn't even know you could do this with a song that was already done. And he was really happy with it, so that kind of motivated me to finish the song. And there you go. That's how Dream of Jeannie came about. And I'm extremely proud to be working with Al Greenwood on that because, my dad joined Foreigner in '78. I only met Al briefly as a child, and now I'm back in connection with him. In this day and age, it's a pretty special thing for me to be working with someone like him. He's a very talented musician.
No doubt. This is Choppers Network Live on WGBB. We're talking to Daniel Wills, Black Molly. We just heard that new song there, and he's going to hear another song later on in this segment. But you talk about growing up. Obviously, you're Rick Wills' son, and your father just made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Before we get into your career, what's your take? I'm sure you've been backstage forever because you're Rick Wills' son, and he's been in some great bands, and you must have seen a lot in the rock and roll journey. But what's your take in your father getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Foreigner?
Let me tell you, I can't tell you how happy I am for him as a son and as a person, because my dad 100% deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That I can tell you wholeheartedly, because he's just one of those guys. He's like me. He's got music in his veins. He doesn't know anything but music, and he's a music guy. And he's very picky and choosy about who he plays with. He's got an amazing ear for a good drummer, for a good songwriter, for a great singer. He's been lucky enough to work with pretty much the best singers of all time. With, being around Humble Pie with Steve Marriott, working with Peter Frampton, working then with Lou Gramm, with Foreigner, and going on to Paul Rodgers with Bad Company. I mean, they don't get any better than that in terms of singers. So, me being around that my whole life, I guess it was just something I've always had the most incredible respect for, and I've always had this insane passion to be around it. I relate to those types of people. I love meeting and being around those types of people. So for me, growing up as a kid, I would say I definitely grew up around adults as a child. I was backstage and on the road a lot when we weren't in school. So being around those types of people, I kind of had to learn when to speak and when not to, and just to listen a lot. I would sit around and just kind of watch and listen. And, seeing someone like Mick Jones working on a song, or David Gilmour working on a song in his house when we would stay at his house sometimes, I would hear him in the morning making tea, for example, and he would be humming a melody in the hallway, and he was just like the most beautiful sound you could have ever imagined, and to me, that's where a song can start. It can be a little thing that you hear, and it da-da-da-da-da, and then you're off and running on a song, and I guess it's just the addiction that I have. My dad is truly a music person, and to answer your question, I couldn't be happier that he's in the Hall of Fame.
That's wonderful. It's definitely a family affair. So when you made the decision to go into music, I know that, life can be challenging, so we all kind of have to do different things to make ends meet. But when you made a decision to go into music, was that a tough call for you, or did you know this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to do it? And when the band became Black Molly, I mean, it's such a proud moment for yourself, and I'm excited to hear some of the news that you have for us moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, for me, it's never been a tough decision to play music. That has always been like eating and breathing air for me. It's just something that comes out of me, it comes through me. When I have a song that I have to finish, or a lyric or an idea that's in me, I can't stop thinking about it until the song is finished and things like that, So for me, honestly, I've always, in general, worked to be in music, and I've always hoped one day I would be working in music, and I've tried and still trying to make a living as a musician, but I've been around the music business pretty much my whole life. Working for bands like Styx, I was their assistant tour manager for 5 years. I was in the studio with Scott Stapp from 2007 to 2009, working on a solo album that basically was never released, sadly, but it was just the most amazing experience working with him. And, 2012, I was in Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise, playing 3 different songs in that movie, and a couple of years later, I was in a press commercial playing drums for Shakira. So just random stuff. I've always been kind of on the outskirts and the fringes of music, and I cannot let it go. I've tried to stop doing music. I've tried to just be a working person, and I can't help it. It's just that thing I can't help going back to,
Well, Daniel, do not ever let it go. This is great stuff you're putting out there. And to hear you being part of Styx, Rock of Ages, the movie, which were a couple of foreigner songs in that movie, and Crest, which with Shakira, I mean, your portfolio, your resume is pretty intense there.
Well, I mean, listen, again, I hope I know what I'm doing by this point about writing songs and stuff. So I really appreciate the feedback on the songs. And people who are hearing the songs I'm writing right now seem to like it. And I mean, rock seems to be kind of I wouldn't say a dying art, but it's definitely not at the forefront of music like it used to be when I was a kid. That you walk into a record shop and rock was right at the front. And it's a different world now we live in, and I think rock is just going through that cycle of everything comes around and has its time, and country has had a huge, impact on the world lately, and hip-hop has just been a humongous beast of music lately, and pop is doing its usual pop thing. So, I think, I don't know, my influences, I would say, hopefully are pretty classic enough so that my music isn't too one way or the other. I'm trying to be that way, I guess I could say, is just trying to create, good songs with a good story that people will hopefully enjoy listening to. That's the goal, And Black Molly, I mean, I'm in. I love this project, and working with the bass player and the guitar player I'm working with are my school friends, Jason and Paul Bone. They're out in England, and I'm so blessed to have them working on this stuff. I sent them a few of my ideas, and thank God they loved it straight away and wanted to play on it. And I mean, Paul is one of the best bass players I've ever worked with in my life. He's just the most talented individual. He's like Beethoven. He can read and write music and write a full orchestra, and Jason is like a prodigy guitar player who's like a hidden secret. So hopefully he'll be my hidden secret until he comes out into the world and blows everybody away. But right now we're just really happy recording and creating the sound of Black Molly. I got a new song coming out called Sacred Ground, which is all about the Native American Indians, how we treated them when the pilgrims and settlers came to this country, and it's a very strong topic for me, and I really believe in the story, and I love the song, so I'm excited about that. And, we'll see what happens.
This is Chapters Network Live on WGBB. If you want to call in, please do it, 516-623-1240. We're talking to Daniel Wills, frontman and songwriter for Black Molly, a new British-American heavy rock metal band recording original material between Miami, USA, and UK. I like what you said, because your bandmates are school friends. That means a lot, because, like, if you compare yourself to Foreigner was kind of put together, half Brits and half Americans, and there you go, you had a band, a Hall of Fame band, put it that way. But there's something to say about having friends in school that you grew up with to form a band. There's a special feeling, I would imagine. Isn't that true?
There's a connection that you make as musicians, no matter where it comes from, and it's a very important thing, When you find players that you want to play with and that would just kind of understand and relate to the music you're making, that's really hard to find. So, for someone like my dad, he met Mick Jones in Paris back in, I think it was like 67 maybe, something like that. He was touring with Dave Gilmour in a band called Joker's Wild before Dave was even anybody. Nobody knew who Dave was at that time. And Dave and Mick were friends, I believe, and I think my dad met Mick, through, I don't remember exactly how it happened, in a club in Paris. And they really hit it off and connected very heavily, because I think Mick realized my dad was a great bass player and is just a great person, solid human being, And then, sure enough, 15, 16 years later, in 77 or 78, I think it was, my dad's off in America getting a check from Peter Frampton's management, and somebody's like, hey, man, while you're in town, Foreigner's auditioning, and that's the connections that mean everything for the moment and being in the right time and stuff like that. But you have to have the connections,
and no doubt, right.
Vibe,
when you talk, right, I'm sorry, Dave, when you talk about your father, I mean, look at this. He made it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year with Foreigner. Peter Frampton made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he was part of that band. And this year, Bad Company is up for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame honors. So, I mean, I don't know if it's ever happened before in the history of rock and roll. So your father's right in the thick of things, and you have that pedigree, too, that all these bands and the people you've been around must kind of wear off on you. So to be the frontman and songwriter is pretty impressive. Talk about your process of writing songs and putting down on paper and putting the guitar riff and the music behind it. What's your secret there?
So, I love how you put it. That's exactly like how I think about things. It is, I think what makes a great song, if you think about like Message in a Bottle by the Police, if you think about, Long, Long Way from Home by Foreigner, think about that intro, like that one guitar part that just as soon as you hear it, you know the song, you probably remember where you were the first time you heard it, you think about friends you've been with while you've heard that song, having a great time or whatever. Songs and smells and things like that, they bring you to a place, and I want to create those things in my music, and it's a tough thing to do, and I really believe in, that sort of the power of the riff compels me type of sort of, credo of living. It's like, if it doesn't have that one thing, whether it's a great vocal melody, whether it's a killer hook with a cool harmony, whether it's got to have that something. And for me, my first instrument was drums, and if it doesn't have a big, huge, fat sounding drum track, then I'm not interested, quite frankly. And that's one of the biggest things for me, is to have a big foundation of, nice, big, huge drums and a nice, heavy sounding bass. But it's got to have something, like a guitar sound, whether it's if it's a quiet, nice sound, it's got to have some kind of cool guitar tone, and that's it's definitely more of a vibe that I think is really important to start with. And it could be either a lyric that I've written down as like kind of a, not a poem, but like a start of an idea of a song, and it won't be any music yet, or I'll have a guitar riff that has no lyrics to it at all yet, and I'll just record the guitar part and work on the drums.